We are ready to rock and roll. This is Amy Marie. I am the president of County Council, and I have Jackie Thoms from Hillsborough County Public Schools, and she is all things Facilitron. What's your actual title, Jackie?
Yeah, I do get called Captain Facilitron a lot, but I am the final approver for the district, and I am the all-around Facilitron guru. So I'll be your liaison for things such as fee waivers through our district, any kind of questions you have regarding Facilitron, and of course, I'll be your final approver for that district once they go through the school sites.
Awesome.
I'm going to put something in the chat really fast just so that you guys all have my contact information.
Awesome. And I will cut and paste it and put it on our Facebook page, so it's in our chat on our Facebook page as well. We're just going to kind of talk about what is Facilitron, why we're using it, how to use it, what it's all about, because I know there's been a lot of confusion about it. And I'm sure you've heard from some of us, if you weren't in compliance, that is part of the package deal. So I will let Jackie talk about it.
Good evening, everybody. So my name is Jackie, and I am your all-around guru for Facilitron and your final approver for the district. So I just kind of want to go over and just explain exactly what Facilitron is for our district. So Facilitron is a facility management program that records data not only for compliance for such organizations as yourself, but for all facility use throughout our district, because we are collecting data. Sorry, excuse me, let me turn this down a little bit. We are collecting data to be able to do cost analysis for our district to make sure that we're not overcharging or undercharging any of our organizations that use our school site, and to make sure that we are not incurring any fees on ourselves. So that is pretty much the roundabout, or the definition of what Facilitron does for our district. Also, in addition to that, it will be incorporated into our maintenance platform, which will be running the ACs and things like that. So it's very important that you guys know how to use this now, so that once you do start having those events, you have AC to run along with those events. I know a lot of you who have never entered a reservation before. When you do enter them, you get struck with sticker shock, where you get charged lots and lots of fees. I just want to kind of alleviate some of that stress and let you know that Facilitron does not understand that you are a fee waived organization until you go through an approval process. So the first step to that approval process is that your school site will accept you onto their calendar. And then at that time, it gets initiated and it gets sent to my inbox for final approval. And then with the information that you enter, and I do have walkthroughs, because the information that you enter gives me those clues to let me know where to move you to make sure that you don't produce those fees moving forward. And of course, if you guys ever have any questions or any concerns, you're welcome to give me a call, and I can be able to go over any of those policies or those fees, or why you're being charged them. There are some times that you get charged fees that maybe you shouldn't be charged fees, and of course you can call me about that. Every reservation is really dependent on the type of facility and the time that it's used. So if you ever have a question about a fee that you don't think you should have, I am always here to take your calls and concerns and go over that with you. And if I need to go and get additional approval to get those waivers for you, we can do that as well. You would do that through me. So just to let you know that we also use it as our compliance manager for our blanket use facility agreements, which is also pulled up by your bookkeepers and your principal at your school site, because that has to be produced for your school's annual audit. So it's very important that we have these documents in place. And these are the same documents that have been turned in year after year. Usually your school secretary fills them all out for you. And they used to be in the paper form, but now we have moved over to the digital platform, so that we can have all of those entered digitally. Hey, and so that you can keep track of that. It makes the approval process, please help yourself. It makes the approval process faster, and it makes the approval process faster, allowing you to have your reservations approved quicker. And it also allows us to have more PTAs in compliance, so that we are not having any undue lawsuits or things of that nature that cost our district lots of money. Is there any questions so far regarding any blanket use facility that I can touch base with before I get started with this?
I don't see any questions so far, but if anybody has any, please type them in the chat so we can make sure we catch all the answers tonight, so we can get the most from Jackie as possible.
So I'm just I am sharing my screen right now. So this is a document that I have. All of your school secretaries have access to this on our business news platform. And I've sent this to Amy and Erica as well, and I'll make sure that they have updated copies today to be able to share with you. This is just going to go over both the blanket use facility agreement, why it's required, how to enter it, and then of course the separate use blanket use of facilities, because we have to have a separate use facility agreement in place for any other events, which I'm going to go through really fast through this document. So give me 1 second. So sorry. So as you know, as I said earlier, every year your PTA is required to enter a blanket use facility because this is required to be produced for your principal's annual audit. So, and it cannot be entered by your school secretary because it has to have your PTA's name on the account. When your secretary enters it on their account, then they get dinged on their audit because then it makes the contract looks like it's in their name instead of your PTA's name. So make sure that you guys are entering that on for your PTAs. If you don't have those entered, let's go ahead and get those entered as soon as possible so that we can start adjusting those. And Facilitron, I have a couple of direct representatives that I work with that are very well versed in our PTAs and understand like the importance of making sure that these documents are accurate. So they know how to go through and help adjust your reservations to reflect that blanket use facility so that you're in compliance. One of the other things that we do is we do check with Amy and Erica to make sure that you are in compliant with your parent organization, because as you know, if you're not in compliance with your parent organization, then your COI is not valid. And so if anything were to happen, it wouldn't be covered because the PTA could say, well, you know, you're not in compliance with us, therefore you can't use our name. So we want to make sure that everybody is in compliance with all of their parent organizations so that we don't have any issues with any kind of lawsuits or other things like that. So your blanket use of facility, it's going to cover all events that take place during the school day, and it's also going to cover all of your general meetings at no charge. So all of these things will be included in your blanket use facility. Any activities that you have planned that fall outside of that instructional day will have to be entered as a separate use facility. There is not always fees on there. Again, it's really dependent on the time and the type of facility being used. We try to do our best to make sure that we don't charge you for anything that we don't incur on ourselves. If we don't incur it on ourselves, we're not going to charge you. One of the things that we will cut out for you is the custodians. Most of our custodians, all of our custodians have their time flexed across our schools to help accommodate our PTA events, after school programs, things like that. So if we already have staff scheduled to work, we would never push that fee onto you. We'd only push that fee onto you as if we had, like, for instance, like a weekend event where we had a custodian that had to come in and work. Most administrators will donate their time for your events because that is that direct partnership with their school. But however, we do want to make sure that our custodians get compensated for their duties whenever they come in. Any carnivals or fairs, no matter what time of day that they take place, has to be entered as a separate use of facility agreement because we have to have additional COIs attached, because with those carnivals and events that you guys have planned, you are the only other organization that we allow to essentially sublease our properties. No other renters that come on our campus are allowed to bring in extra vendors except for you, because we have that understanding with you. So you guys are allowed to bring in food trucks or Kona ice or things like that, bounce houses, but we have to have a separate use facility entered because we will need to have additional COIs. And yes, spring festivals, fall festivals are carnivals. Any kind of festival, any kind of fair, those are all going to be festivals. And also any after schools enrichment programs will have to be entered as a separate use facility as well. Because again, we need to have the COIs of the additional vendors that you have coming in to host those events, such as I know drama kids or drama clubs and a couple other a couple other of those enrichment programs that you guys use most often will have to be entered as a separate use facility. When you have after school enrichment programs, please reach out to me directly and I'll help you build those reservations. Lee and I will sit down with you. We'll help you because you'll have to do an individual reservation for each one of your after school programs. And many of you have multiple ones, usually between 5 and 15 after school programs that run throughout the weeks. You know, you'll have one day, one another day, but we'll help you get all of those entered for you so that it makes it a little bit easier to maintain once those initial reservations are entered with those COIs. So the things that you'll need to create your blanket use facility is going to be your tax exempt documentation. You'll need to have that 501c3 form, not the application. You'll need to have the actual one. If you have your EIN number, you can attach that as long as your EIN number is correct and it pulls up the information. That will suffice as your tax exempt. But if I don't have that tax exempt document, I can't waive your taxes unless I have that form there. You'll also need to have COI that covers your events for the year. You do not need to have the same coverage as all of our outside renters. We actually reduce that for you. All of our outside renters have to have $1 million in coverage with I believe it's $300,000 per incident. However, yours is going to only be $300,000 with $50,000 per accident. So you guys do not have to have the same coverage as all of our other outside renters. Again, that is for that partnership. In addition to that,
And you can,
in addition,
if you're not in compliance with Florida PTA, you can't get any of this information, which is why it's important to make sure that you are in compliance. The membership dues are paid, your audits are in, your 990s done. So that's where Erica and our team comes in. If you guys need help, support, and help you get that done so that we can help you can get that information from Florida PTA.
and then in addition to that, if you have we can create multiple accounts. We can create multiple accounts for your different users. If you contact me, we can add additional users onto that account so that you guys are all sharing, because I understand that you guys have different officers that change from year to year. So if we have multiple accounts attached on there, nobody will ever be blocked out. So if you have those additional users, I have instructions for adding them yourselves. And of course, if you have trouble, you can reach out to me for assistance with that. So with your blanket use facility agreement, if you'd like, I can walk through a reservation on how to enter that. But if any of you are in Facilitron right now, and if you would like to go along with me, if you don't have your blanket use facility entered, we can go along and create one together. And if you have any questions, I can answer them now. Otherwise, if you want to enter this in on your own leisure and reach out to me with any questions in the future, I'd be able to help you as well. So first, you'll have to create an account. Once you go in and you create your account, you'll create your account under a nonprofit using your EIN number. If you don't have your EIN number, just do a commercial account. It's okay. We can change you in the background. Just please don't choose individual account, because then I can't find you. I can only find business accounts with my account. Otherwise, I'd have to refer you to Facilitron for them to be able to help you for individual accounts. I don't know why that's blocked from me, but it currently is. Once you have your account created, you'll be able to go in and reserve your reservations by clicking on the Facilitron logo. That will take you to a soccer field behind you where you can enter in your school site to be able to find your location to put your reservations in. When you're reserving your reservation for your blanket use of facility, we want to reserve the date that your COI is started. It should be your blanket use facility should be the very first day of your COI, which is your certificate of insurance, and your very last day, because we don't want a blanket book for the entire school year, because this is a facility management platform, and we don't want to block out the entire school's calendar, because one, it messes up all of their internal events, and two, it also blocks out any potential revenue for them to earn by blocking out their calendar, where they can't rent out their facility to any other outside organizations because you've essentially blocked it off for them. Once you have your reservation entered, you'll choose the first day. If you can't choose the first day, just the very first day that you can reserve it. And make sure that you name it blanket use of facility, because there's great text search features in Facilitron, so that when your bookkeeper has to pull up those reservations for their audit, they'll be able to just do a quick search for their blanket use of facility, and all of them will come up for the school year. So upon checking out on your reservation, again, when you don't have an account already created, when you first create an account, you will generate fees. Please do not be alarmed by those fees. Remember, Facilitron does not understand that you are a fee-waived organization until you go through that approval process. When you'll be prompted to pay, when you get to that payment screen, just choose the pay by mail option. This will give your school a chance to accept it onto the calendar and send that to me for the final approval. And then I'll be the one that moves you to the correct rate category so that you do not produce those fees. Now, remember, your blanket use of facility agreement never produces any fees. However, all of the additional use of facility agreements, they may or may not incur fees, again, depending on the type of facility and the time being used. Some of the things that will trigger fees are going to be for your fairs and your dances whenever you're bringing the outside public on our campuses, when the school will have to be reimbursed for the custodial supplies that will be used. The money that Facilitron collects for custodial supplies, that goes back directly to the school site, so that it goes and credits their custodial supplies accounts so that they can purchase more supplies for the supplies that are used. Any overtime or utilities that are collected gets collected by Facilitron, and it goes directly to our payroll department or our utilities department to reimburse those departments that incur that fee for them. Nothing is ever collected revenue wise on our PTAs. We only collect operational costs that we incur. During the when you're entering your reservations, if you don't have to upload your COI when you're creating your account. You can actually go back and add that at a later date. I have included instructions for where you can go and add that at a later date. And of course, you know, if you have problems, you can reach out to me or Facilitron directly to add those accounts. Anytime that you have questions regarding pricing or policies, you would have to go through me, because Facilitron does not have access to our specific policies. So anything that any information that they give you could be incorrect. So I always suggest that you reach out to me when it's concerning the Hillsborough County policies and pricing. And then I'll be able to direct you to the correct person if I cannot help you. Creating your reservations. Once you have your blanket use facility entered and approved, you guys can go ahead and start creating your reservations for your other events, such as any fairs or festivals that you have. You can enter in your general meetings or any dances that you have scheduled throughout the year. For your dances, just remember that, you know, when we are pulling in that outside we're bringing in those outside organizations, when we're bringing in the outside public, we do have to reimburse for custodial supplies. Field days that the PTA is bringing in inflatables. Yes, so anybody that is having a field day where the PTA is bringing outside inflatables, yes, that will have to be entered as a blanket use facility, because that's going to fall under the fair carnival guidelines. The inflatables that they are allowed to use is only the approved inflatables in our safety department. I have a document which I can pull up right here. I'm going to switch over from the blanket use facility walkthrough to our carnival guidelines. This is also for all of our secretaries, and they have access to this. And then we have a specific list of approved vendors. And these are the only vendors that we can use for bounce houses, because these are the ones that have been approved for our district. There's a lot of things that our PTAs can purchase that our school district is not. Our school district is required to purchase things through certain vendors. You guys are not always, are not you guys don't have to follow the same rules as our district, except for whenever it comes to child safety. Whenever we have bounce house vendors, you can only use these vendors that are on here. You cannot choose any other vendors. You cannot go through vendor link to add any vendors, because the safety office will not add any additional bounce houses to our current list. This has just been an email that was currently brought to my attention just this week. So I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned that, because some of our PTAs understand that they don't have to follow the same procurement guidelines as our bookkeepers do. However, when it comes to bounce houses, it's the only one that you do have to follow the same way that our bookkeepers do.
Erica asked a great question. It's how often this list is updated. This is actually the most updated list. So
This is the most updated one. I got this one
we'll
today.
We'll add that to our website for sure.
Yeah. This one, the last time it was updated was about a year and a half ago, and then this one was updated just a few months ago. So this is the most current up-to-date list that we have right now. And anytime that it is updated, I work very closely with the safety office, so they'll send that to me so that I can make sure that my documentation stays up to date as well. And then, of course, reasons why you have to have multiple use of facility agreements in place. And again, you know, we are advertising to rent our facilities outside to the public to create extra revenue. This revenue that we make, we use that to help fund the upkeep and of our facilities. So we want to make sure that any spaces that you guys have that is reserved for you. So we want to make sure that you get all of those use facility agreements in as soon as possible. And then, of course, you know, some of our events will cause our district to incur fees for hosting your event, such as consumable supplies, examples, toilet paper, paper towels. We've already gone over this, you know, so of course, you know, anything that our district incurs on itself for the events, we will have to push on to you. Because again, our schools are funded by taxpayer money, and because of that, you know, we have to be good stewards of that money to make sure that we are not incurring fees on ourselves that take from that taxpayer money that funds our schools. A lot of our PTAs in the past have paid our custodians directly with cash. We ask that you don't do that because when we do that, our employees are no longer covered by workman's comp insurance. So God forbid, if an accident were to happen to one of our custodians or other staff members that come in and work for your events, we want to make sure that they are covered by workman's comp and that they pay into their fringe. So we want to make sure that all payments are collected through Facilitron so that the payments for these employees can run through our payroll department so that they're covered for their safety. Again, every reservation is conditional. If you feel that you're not required to pay for a service you've been quoted, you can request it to be adjusted or removed in the comments section, or you can call me directly. And of course, after school enrichment programs, contact me directly so that we can help you get those set up. We'll need to have the insurance of all the individual enrichment programs that you have planned. Any teacher run enrichment programs that you have that do not run through a business, this may be one that you've created yourself, we can run that off of your insurance. We'll just have to make sure that we have some sort of COI that is attached to those after school enrichment programs. And then your PTA, they do pay for operational costs for the after school enrichment programs, and we've worked out with between the PTA and our district an MOU for you guys, and that is brought the pricing down from, I believe it was like $300 a day to $37.50 a day for your after school enrichment programs. Typically,
That's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah. So we have reduced those so that it only is going to reimburse the school district for that small utilities and custodial supplies. So we have that set up to collect that $37.50 for each one of your events. So it makes it a lot more price effective for your efforts to do these valuable after school enrichment programs while making sure that our schools don't go into the negative to host these valuable programs. And then, of course, these are the instructions for entering all of your regular use of facility agreements. And again, this is all going to be, I'm going to share all of this with both Erica and Amy so that they can upload this on their website. And all of your secretaries at your school sites have access to this on Business News.
How do we add events during the day when the day hours are grayed out? Is this something we have the school to correct?
So any events that you have planned during the day, we can enter them as internal events. You can contact me to enter them for you. All of that time is already blocked out and protected because we're concerned with the times that happen outside of that. So anything that's happening during the school day, any events that you have planned besides carnivals and fairs, will be grouped into your blanket use of facility. So we're really only worried about those events that take place outside of that regular instructional day that isn't covered in your blanket use facility. So any event that you have planned after dismissal, any events that you have planned on the weekends, those will need to have those use of facility agreements. Anything that you have planned during the school day, if you would like to have them entered, just you can reserve the time for whatever time that it states, and then put in the comment section of the real time that it takes place, and then it can be changed in the background for you, either by me, Facilitron, or even your school secretary at the school site is able to change those times for you as well. It will not let you reserve the time during the school day because Facilitron has been programmed to protect the learning environment. So it will not let any renters, be yourself or any other outside renters, reserve that instructional time. Only district internal accounts such as your bookkeepers or myself or the Facilitron reps can schedule over those times.
So if they're having like Boosterthon come in and do a fun run on a Friday, that's an outside organization. You'd probably want to make sure that's booked in Facilitron so that you just have the proper insurance added.
Correct. Yes, correct. Yeah. And so any of those events that you have that might be during the day that are going to require that extra COI, sorry, just reserve it for whatever time that you can, and then put in the comments section the real time, or you can give me a call directly. I will let you know that I have to have that reservation entered before I can see it and adjust it. So have your event entered using the date that you want, using whatever time that you can reserve, and then put in the comment section the real times, and then we'll get it changed for you.
That's a great question. I know we do events during the day sometimes with field days and bring in fun run organizations and stuff. So that's a great question because it is kind of confusing because it is grayed out.
Right. And it's a great fundraiser. And it's great because it doesn't really cost you anything because it is happening during the school day. And we just have to have that additional COI to make sure that everybody's covered for those events. And then here is the instructions for adding those additional users to your account. When we add those additional users, again, that's going to allow multiple people on the same account so that any information that you enter can be seen by your treasurer, your vice president, or any other your chair members that you share that account with. This way, nobody's ever blocked out in case, your officers change, things get busy and you may forget. This way, you don't have to try to hunt somebody down. It makes it a lot easier. I've also put in here just to kind of understand fee waivers, just kind of goes through, what you could be charged. Again, every reservation is dependent on the time and type of facility being used. You can give me a call anytime. I'll be able to help you understand those and get you to the correct department to get those fee waivers, additional fee waivers if you feel like you should not be charged that. Is there any other questions so far?
Anybody has questions, you're more than welcome to unmute if that's easier, but you can type them in the chat. I think the thing we're learning here is that if you have questions, it's definitely worth the time to make the phone call and touch base with Jackie.
Yeah, and I'm here to help, guys. I used to do PTA. I've been in this district for a very long time. I got hired in 2009, but before that, the 6 years before that, I did PTA with the schools, and I've done everything under the sun. I've done every officer position that there is, treasurer, president, vice president. I've done it all. So I understand your roles, and I understand your the trials and tribulations that you guys have for you know, making your fundraisers and whatnot, and just doing all of your events with your schools. So I am very understanding. So please don't be afraid to call me. I'm here to help all of you.
Stacy says our school plans and runs our field day, but PTA does a portion of it with funds and volunteers, no outside vendors. Do we submit a reservation still?
So if it's your school's field day, they can enter that as their internal event. Any internal events that they have, you guys are welcome to come in and support that, because that's what the partnership is for. However, if it's the school's field day, we'll have them enter it, and I'll be training our schools more on their internal calendars and entering those events themselves later on in the next couple of months. So we'll see a lot more of them entering more internal events that you'll be able to join should you want to come to that. And Facilitron has a great calendar too. Once they start entering all of their internal events, it'll be easier for you to kind of see and monitor that as well.
Yeah, it's very, I think it's pretty user friendly. I think the biggest tip I would give is to make sure that you have an email for your president and treasurer that is not personal. It is specific to the PTA. So it's, you know, XYZ
Definitely, yeah.
at Gmail, if that's what it needs to be, so that you can just hand off that password. They can update the name and the information in the account when they turn over, because we do, you know, we turn over officers quite frequently. So we want to make sure that that's easy for them. So.
Yeah, that's a great, I was just going to suggest something similar, because one of the things I learned from Jackie in one of the very first trainings is that it builds a history. Mm-hmm. And if you can pass on that email, and it's okay if you can't, but if you can, it really helps, because they can sort of, you know, look back in there and see, oh, what was done.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
really cool.
And that is a really great thing about Facilitron, is the fact that it does collect all this data and it does store this, so that we can go back and see what was charged in the past, so that we can kind of just base it off of that and base our future ones off of that as well if we need to. And yeah.
So so I think a huge part of this that's probably sticky is probably the compliance piece, and that's probably why you've heard more of Facilitron this year than maybe last year, because it rolled out last year, but this year it's a little more mandatory.
This year, well, and it's always been mandatory, but you know, it's baby steps. So nobody likes change, and nobody likes extra work, and it's not necessarily extra work, it's just different work. And so getting everybody on board, now that everybody's been introduced to it and they're being trained on it, they have me to help guide them through that, then we are making this mandatory throughout all of our schools. All of our schools are required to use it. All of our PTAs are required to use it. All of our outside vendors are required to use it, because eventually, like I said, it's going to be tied into our maintenance platform, which is going to turn things on, such as like our AC and schedule maintenance and things like that for your events.
That's going to be
amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
We don't have AC for our evening events, because it's turned off by a separate system. So at least at my school.
Well, they should be doing foghorn requests for you.
It's just kind of, I mean, you know my situation. We're in a school that's being remodeled, so it's kind of like, is it the school district, or is it because they've switched something on the roof? You know, it's kind of, how do we get the AC turned on now for evening events? That's a great
question. So currently, right now, we go through we go through a platform called Foghorn. So when you put in an event into Facilitron, your administration on your school site, they see that, and they see the time frame, and they see that it's outside, because remember, Facilitron's not going to let you reserve anything during the instructional time when our ACs are typically running. When they get these reservations in, it prompts them to go in and put in a request in Foghorn, which only our assistant principals have access to. So they have to go in and put a separate request currently right now to go into Foghorn to turn on your AC. Eventually, hopefully by the end of this school year, they're going to have those two platforms talk together, Facilitron and Foghorn. So whenever you enter your reservation into Facilitron, that'll prompt the email over to Foghorn to get your approval to automatically turn on your AC, so that we're kind of getting rid of that middleman there to make sure that your utilities are turned on for you, your AC are turned on for you. Because currently right now, we have to have the assistant principal at the school sites enter in that separate request on Foghorn.
And does that answer Stacy Keller's question about, oh, yes, it does. And then let me ask you, what about an old school like Lutz K8, which is kind of on the fringe there due to its age? I mean, eventually will everybody be on Foghorn? Or will
Everybody is on Foghorn. Yes, everybody
Okay.
has access to Foghorn. That is the only way. That's run through our energy management department.
Okay.
And so they put in their request through there because Foghorn is a platform that is going to analyze all of our energy use. And then to be able to turn on and off those ACs throughout our school districts and district offices. The lights for outside the parking lot, no, that does not run through Foghorn. That is turned on at your district. I know at my school, I actually had two different panels, unique panels. I had one in my custodian office and I had one in like a little data room that controlled my front parking lots and my back parking lots. So that's usually somewhere on the school side. I would touch base with your site secretary. They might know where that is because they kind of know everything on your campuses. If not, then their custodians would know.
For sure. There's always a secretary or an AP that knows absolutely
Your
everything.
designated school moms.
There's someone. Ours is our one of our APs. She just knows everything about everything. So these are all really great questions. It will be great when it's all tied together. And I think that's really the future of what and why we're doing this. And it's going to be baby steps. And it really does help us with compliance. So you do hear from us, but if you are not in compliance, because we do get a list every week from Florida PTA. And you want to talk about compliance for just a second, Eric?
I always want to talk about compliance. It's my favorite.
It's a big piece of this. And
it's how Jackie and I have begun to bond.
Yes. Yeah.
So I just want to talk, these compliance items have always existed.
Let me stop sharing. Here we go.
And so you have, right, like every year you have to, bylaws have to renew every 3 years. Your audit is due every year by August 31st. Your 990s are due. They should be filed as soon as you do your audit, but you do have until November 15th. Then you have to pay your dues every month and your dues annually to Hillsborough County Council. And then as soon as your new board is elected, you have to update your officers. And I just want to point out that 4 of the 5 are actually requirements from the IRS. So this is not something that, Florida PTA is creating or Hillsborough County Council. These are requirements which permit you to have your 501c3 designation. And that's why they're so important. And earlier, if you recall, when Jackie was referencing that if you are not in compliance, it can cause problems with your certificate of insurance. And the district's priority, of course, is to minimize and eliminate any chance of lawsuit. And so then that's where we're coming in by saying, hey, do you have these 5 compliance items? Because like I said, 4 out of 5 are a requirement by the IRS. And the dues, in order to be in a PTA, you have to pay your dues. It's a membership driven organization. So really, you could theoretically say all 5 are requirements of IRS, but that's where it's coming from. And these have always existed. Maybe the consistency has not always been there, but we are working on it. And I'm sure many of the local units will attest to the fact that Amy Marie, myself, the majority of the board, we want you to hold these events because that's what our students needs. That's what makes our districts amazing. And so we are not using this as carrot in the stick or to be punitive. call us. I mean, I was on Alafia. Did I get it right?
Yeah, Alafia.
Oh, loud.
First time.
She's
It's
got it
been
wrong
that-
for like
so-
a month
Yeah, I'm
now.
so sorry, Alafia. Like, it's nothing personal, but it's just so, we're here to work with you, so as long as we know you're working on it and you're in constant communication with us, we are going to go to bat for you. We are going to call Jackie. We're going to do whatever we can do to make sure that your event occurs and that it's a success.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. And even though I'm charging you fees, I am not here to be your enemy or, to go and nickel and dime you ever. I'm here to assist you in any way that I can. And I'm your partner just the same way that you're a partner to your school site.
Yeah. I mean, we want these events to happen for our communities and our schools.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, your council is here to help you try to just get all that work done. So it's completed, it's sent in, and you're on the active list. We do get a list we have about 200 units close here in Hillsborough. So we have a very big list we get every week, and Erica unpacks it and recreates it so that we can send it over to Jackie. But that's why you hear from us a lot. So hopefully next year it's just going to be like so easy.
And I think coming out of COVID too, I think it's really
Yeah.
been hard for a lot of our
Yeah,
PTAs because
sure.
they weren't really required to do this. And it was 3 years that we couldn't even use the facilities. So a lot of this stuff just got forgotten with, the change of officers and whatnot. So, coming out of COVID and really getting us all back into compliance, I think that we have a great team here in Hillsborough County between, you and Erica being able to help. I know when I did PTA, I never really knew who to even contact. So, I mean, having these resources and having all of us, just come together so that to help all of our PTAs and our school sites understand and know who to contact. That's just a huge thing right there alone. So again, if any of you guys need any of us, we're all here to help.
For sure. Does anyone have any any questions? You talked about your compliance. Erica's happy, so she got to talk about compliance. It's a never-ending talk. So if you need help with anything, please reach out to Jackie for any of the facility stuff. She's been never-ending helpful for me when I have to do events. So thank you. And thank you for staying late at work to do this. She's still at Rosshack in her office. So we really appreciate you taking your time to kind of unravel it a little bit and demystify it, because it's really going to be beneficial for our schools in the long run and for our PTAs, because we don't want our district to be losing money. So this is a good way to make sure that our districts our schools are being financially responsible and covering the costs that they're incurring. So we appreciate you. Oh, I did have a little nugget. This is kind of exciting. So I did hear from the district yesterday about any PTAs that are active, which is what we use. You're in compliance as an A or active. You will be given, your president's going to be given access to Peach Jar, which is the district-wide communications. So that will be coming out. You'll be hearing from me on that soon. I'm going to suggest that you I know it's a great tool. They just gave me access at the county level. And it's just, I think it'll be much easier. You'll put it in a queue and they'll have to approve it. But I think it'll be a nice way to get communication out to everybody at your school, not just your membership. And maybe, I think it'll be really, really helpful. But we are going to ask you to have a generic email, something that you can pass on to your next PTA president, so it's not, Amy Marie or Jackie, right. It's Robinson High School PTSA president, or whatever you decide to make it. You can use Gmail. It's free. Even if you just use it for this, it's just a great way to leave a legacy and pass that on. So watch for that. It's going to come through Member Hub. And I will be reaching out to y'all about that.
Yeah,
So,
and I work closely with the philanthropy department and Ray in particular, who does our Peach Jar registrations and accounts. So I'll follow up with him as well, just to kind of help you, and maybe I can help you create, you know, a walkthrough for them to make sure that they have that generic PTA president account, so that we can have everybody just doing the same thing, just to make it easier, so that
Yeah.
there's just one way to do it, so that we just don't have so many options making people confused.
yeah, I think it's going to be a great resource for everyone, and a great way to communicate and build and grow your communities. It can only, you know, encourage membership and grow membership as they see how much you guys are doing for the schools.
Yeah.
And people want to be included. So,
And I'm not sure if any of you have ever been on Peach Jar, but I think that you can create like individual flyers and send them out for all of your events. So yeah, if you
got its
haven't
own
been in
little
there, it's
Canva.
really great.
It's like a little Canva in there. It's not as robust as maybe Canva, but it's got its own little flyer system. So you can, if you're not really good at flyers, there's some like just plug and play, open house, you know, whatever you're going to do. You can just edit right in Canva in Peach Jar, and then upload it. And it's pretty user friendly. So I think it's going to be it's a good thing for us, and Facilitron is kind of helping us get there. So we appreciate that partnership with the district. But if no one has any other questions, I see we have, woohoo, that's amazing. Thank you for doing this, Jackie. We appreciate you. That's a nice comment.
Thanks, guys.
Please reach out to Jackie. She's such a great resource. So thank you all for being here tonight. And if you need anything, please do not hesitate to reach out to anyone on the council. We're here to help you, here to support you. So have a good night, guys.
All right, guys. Good night.